let her not retain her job, I don't think I could have, in all good conscience, approving those 4 years of bad performance, and whether or not adding that to the 8 years that got us to the position we're at right now, plus the fact that the previous council had 18 days after they approved her retirement. Why did they not fund it if they wanted her to have the retirement in cash? Lack of action makes it appear that all they were doing was approving her retirement, whether there was paperwork needed to be able to draw Social Security or anything else. It's an issue that's been addressed and commented on, that this is going to open a can of worms. But from the standpoint, the message that we got today was, it appears that he's saying out of one side, no, the council did not have to vote on it. It's automatic, which it is not. And at the same time, if you look at the facts, her termination, those years, the 11 months that she supposedly drew retirement out of her retirement fund, and I don't remember the exact reference to the pension plan number, that was only 11 months, and if you subtracted that from that, she still had the adequate time. I just think a lot got dumped on this council that should never have been put here to start with. But in black and white, she's got the time, but I don't think it's necessarily been evaluated properly and ethically.
Mr. DeVito, you have your hand up.
Well, once again, we can go back to what the state law says. I mean, if somebody works for you for 4 years and they're terminated, that in no way means that you had 4 years of subpar service. There could have been any single instance what could have caused termination, and I've not seen the document that you're referring to as to the termination, but state law doesn't address that, nor does it address whether she took some money out of a partial retirement fund. It doesn't address that. So we go by what the state law says, and it's very cut and dried. I'm still having a problem with this stampede of people that are going to come out of the woodwork and draw this money. I really don't know where they are. I mean, I can read the state law, and it's very clear who qualifies for it. There's nobody else that qualifies for it. It's elected officials. And if you can tell me who these people are or where they are waiting in the wings, I might be able to embrace that idea. But just to say there's these people, well, until you define these people and tell me who they are, I have to go by what the state statute is. And we're talking about elected people. We're not talking about somebody who received a salary working for the city. Those people don't qualify. Might I direct a comment to one of the council people?
Yes, sir, you may.
Councilman Balance is so adept at bringing up lawsuits. Well, you are involved in an active lawsuit.
Point of order. It's not applicable to this issue.
It speaks to recusing oneself from the vote, and I think that is very applicable to what is before us today. She's involved in an active lawsuit with MJ Cell, the person that she's in authority over. So if there's cause for recusal, I would say that is a recusal matter.
Yeah, thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Berry?
I don't want to repeat. There's been a lot of things said. The thing, whether or not I agree with the law or not, it's kind of irrelevant. What I was basing my vote on at the last council meeting, and the vote at the last meeting here with this new council, was what it states in our handbook. Ms. Sell qualified for this retirement. I think the letter that we received from David Schoen, who is an attorney with no vested interest. He's giving us his best opinion, which is all any attorney can do, is give opinions. And he's stating that basically what we had done was correct. It's also saying just because we didn't vote and put it into words that we granted the years per se. He noted that in the minutes or in the video, we discussed that. So that was part of our intent. That somebody says the intent is only in a criminal. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. But obviously, Mr. Schoen seems to feel that intent doesn't go just for criminal because he cites the City of Blytheville City Service Commission versus Jackson and the intent that was going on there. Again, I'm not either aware of anybody. The only person I know that may qualify for benefits under this law would be Miss Armstrong, but that's 10 years away, or whatever period of time that it takes for her to qualify. And again, that's in the future. That's got nothing to do with who in the future, who's going to qualify and who doesn't. What we're dealing with is what's happening and what's in the present. And this is where we're going. And I also don't think it really matters whether or not, we've got the funding, what the last council did with no funding, because we also, if I remember correctly, didn't put any funds in for the auditorium, which doesn't mean that we didn't have the auditorium funded. What it means was, and I tried to get us to have a workshop to help fund these things, and we didn't have one. So, the whole thing, because of the lack of time, is the main issue, I think, why a lot of these issues didn't get addressed in the funding issue, in the budget. And that was what the new council was supposed to be addressing and what we've been dickering over for the last month. And I think it's time, and I was under the impression if we got an opinion from the Municipal League saying that what the past council had done, then we would go ahead and amend the budget to reflect MJ's retirement. I may be mistaken on that. I don't remember the exact wording on that. But still, if the city, and I've had some people very adamant against us doing this. I've also had some very adamant people who were in favor of it. It's I don't know, almost 50-50. So 6 1/2 dozen the other. We did what we thought was according to the law and what we were approving. And that's what I think we still need to look at, is these two sections, deputy clerk and clerk, whether or not what we did is correct. And I think it is, and I think we need to go ahead and fund this. If I don't agree with it, and if the people don't agree with this, then we need to go to our state legislature and change that law. We can't change that law within us. We can't go in and pull out these things about pulling out benefits and stuff. That's irrelevant. That's got nothing to do with these two portions of law that's applicable that we were looked at and what the Municipal League attorney is addressing. And our own city attorney has addressed too. So if people have an issue with those two sections of the law, especially with the city clerk, or even with the time period on the deputy clerk, but with the time period, the 10 years that the city clerk can serve before drawing, they need to go to the state legislature and have it changed. Contact your state rep or your state senators. That's the process to do this. It's not at this table. Well, that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Weaver, would you give us an update on the situation as it stands now?
You asked at the last council, or the council asked at the last council meeting, that an opinion be obtained. Information was forwarded to the Municipal League. They requested additional information. They requested the actual minutes. They requested the actual video. Mr. Schoen was assigned apparently to do the review and did the review, and he responded last afternoon in regard to what you asked of him, I believe. Additionally, I would have been contacted, and I believe the mayor's office has also been contacted in regard to an attorney that represents Mr. Sell. And it was the intent of that attorney to have filed a lawsuit. And it is still his intent, should this council not fund the retirement, to do so. He actually had indicated he intended to file the lawsuit by noon today, but he received from myself a copy of the email from Mr. Schoen, and based on his knowledge of what took place at this council table last, he told me in a conversation that he would forego that and to see what happened tonight rather than file this afternoon. It's my belief that this is not a bluff. And as to the question of who else can draw, I think that you do need to look at the interpretation of the statute. But I don't see anyone else out there that qualifies this time, or that will qualify in any near future.
Any other comments? Then I'll make one. Mr. Pano.
Well, I'll reiterate again, my lack of support of this from the start was basically due to lack of all the facts, one of which is whether or not the deputy clerk annotation to her duty, that person's duty, was self-proclaimed. That was proven with the FOIA that she was named and sworn in as the deputy clerk. Apparently the 11 months that she drew and paid into and the city matched the retirement that was drawn out, contrary to a comment that was made earlier, is not countable, and if it were countable, it would have to come, part of her retirement would have to come out of that particular retirement fund per the statute, which now that she's taken it all and there isn't any in there, it's not a player. My only concern at this point in time, and in saying that this table, depending upon what we decide tonight, determines whether or not the former city clerk's lawyer files a lawsuit or not, is a little bit hasty. I mean, I've been locally, I've been called everything but a white man in regards to this situation. I would propose that one of the first things that would need to happen, even if we were looking at pursuing this positively, is that I would, can I make a motion at this point in time?
No, you're still in discussion. Go ahead and
Okay.
finish what you're saying.